Hello everyone, my name's Yoon. This is the complete walkthrough of Greytalion 1.0. Greytalion is an Italian Utao rec list. This list is designed with efficiency in mind above all else, as well as ensuring you have the mandatory phonemes for Italian. If you are familiar with Greyglish 1.0, this will not be all that different in terms of configuration. Greytalion, like Greyglish, uses Xsampa for all file names and aliases. If you're familiar with Xsampa, this will make the list very easy to understand. If you aren't familiar, I include an Xsampa phoneme chart in each Greytalion voice bank and the reclist package. Though Greytalion is quite streamlined, I would recommend Greytalion for intermediate users. I'm assuming from this point that you're an intermediate user and that I won't have to explain very basic preliminary setup like changing locale or how to split up multi-pitch folders. I recommend that even if you aren't doing multi-pitch, putting all the individual voice bank recordings in their own folder will help with organization. Make sure all pitch folders correspond to the respective pitch you record. For ease in recording, I recommend using Oremo. I've included an Oremo rec list in the rec list package. To record Greytalion in Oremo, open the program, choose File, Set Recording Folder, and navigate to the folder you're recording in. Once the folder is loaded in, select File, Load Voice List. Navigate to Oremo rec list full.txt in the rec list package folder. For the most part, Greytalion is two-syllable. The only samples that are not two-syllable are the vowel strings and the beginning CC strings. If you'd like to use Guide BGM, use whichever two-syllable BGM works best for you. For standalone vowels, they're actually recorded somewhat similarly to the VV strings. Each core vowel should be recorded in a back-to-back fashion and ended with a breath. Here's an example. For the VV section, this is recorded the same way you'd record VCV. Each VV string is recorded in a continuous line without pauses. Here's what that should sound like. The main CV section is recorded continuously in a two-syllable format. The end at the beginning of the string is not said. Here's an example of that. Da, da, d. The beginning and ending consonant clusters can be recorded quickly with pauses in between. Here's what a beginning CC string should sound like. Fla, fla, fia. And here's an ending CC string. Kets, kesp. Once you've gone through the list and recorded each line, I like to drop all recordings into Dark Audacity, select them all, and perform 100 Hz rumble equalization. This is about the only post-processing I do if I didn't also do some pitch shifting. You then want to export multiple, choose the correct folder, and choose Overwrite Existing Files. Click OK on each of the files really fast and it'll export them all. I then open up the bank in Utao and render FRQ files at this stage. Doing this before the Oto means you won't get stuck rendering all the duplicates. If you'd like, you can use NMSAO1's FRQ editor plugin and render MRQ files and convert them to FRQs. Once that's done, open up setparam and choose your bank's folder. When it prompts you to choose an Oto configuration, navigate to either Oto full or suffixed Oto full. Only use the suffixed Oto if you're doing multi-pitch. Once you have it loaded up, choose File, Save Voice Configurations As, and save the Oto in the correct folder. From here, open the bank with the Oto loaded in Utao. You may have to reload the configurations in Utao for them to show up. Now, we get to the long part of this whole thing. For the beginning of standalone vowels, it should look something like this. Small consonant, preutterance stopping right before the note, overlap halfway behind. Leave a little bit of silence before the note, but not too much. The cutoff should go before the second half of the note. For in-between same vowels, they should be configured the same way as VCV or CVVC VVs. For ending vowels, the preutterance should be placed right when the vowel stops and the breath starts. The overlap should be halfway behind. Preutterance should extend a little bit beyond into the breath. The cutoff should be placed a bit after the breath has ended for a little extra silence. For VVs, the preutterance should be placed after the first vowel. The overlap should go about halfway behind. The offset should allow for a little snippet of the first vowel. The consonant should extend just a bit past the preutterance. The cutoff should go right before the next vowel in the string. It helps in this section especially to listen to what you've already configured. The main CVs are configured in a pretty similar manner, though I have some tips for the different types. For hard consonants like K, I set them up with the preutterance in the middle of the K sound. The consonant just comes up to where the vowel peaks. For beginning CVs, leave some extra silence in the beginning, but not too much. Make sure you're not cutting off too much with the middle CVs, but for the most part, you're Otoing this the same way CVVC is. For soft consonants like M, the preutterance stops just before the vowel. For consonants that have S or sh sounds, putting the offset in the S consonant is sometimes needed as the S can get long. Otherwise, the configuration of these is the same. For middle VCs, the offset should be placed more so on the vowel and less on the consonant. The consonant should capture everything up until the consonant, leaving some white space between the cutoff. The pre-utterance should stop right after the vowel, and the overlap should be halfway behind it. For ending VCs, the pre-utterance should be moved closer to the consonant to ensure it's picked up. There should be a little bit of silence after the consonant. For consonant clusters, the principle from VCs is the same. For most CCs, less of the vowel will be captured. For ending CCs, leave some silence after the consonant. That's the basics about O-towing. The only other thing I'll mention is aliases. Aliases will already be set up by the base O-tow, so you won't have to worry about changing anything unless you're doing multi-pitch. In that case, a really easy way to change aliases is to open up the O-tow in Notepad, select Find Replace, make sure Match Case is checked, put D4 and find what the pitch you want to change to and replace with, hit Replace All and save. So, once you've configured everything and your O-tow is complete, time for a quick test. Navigate to the folder that says Sample UST and open up the main file. Fit the UST to your toe and hit play. If you did everything right, congratulations! You've made a bank on Greytalian. Thank you so much for watching. Links to all resources for Greytalian will be in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to get in contact with me. I'll see you in the next one!
Noi siamo Giovanni Wannabe. Ti dedico le tue strade che portano al mare. Giovanni Wannabe. Figli dei fiumi del mare, guerre lontane, noi sopravvissuti anche alla fine della storia. Voglio incontrarti ancora al prossimo Big Bang. Sul viso leggi il mio passato come Dorian. Portami dove vuoi, basta sia lontano da me.